And we are live. Hey, Jeff.
Hello,
Well,
Lee.
nice to chat with you. It's always nice. I always enjoy when we do a shared video chat like this. And
Me
connect
too.
and touch base. Yeah. And how are your workouts going these days?
Workouts? Oh, workouts are going really great.
Nice.
Yeah, love the summertime. Try to make it a little bit more of an effort to get outside, do some hiking,
Mm-hmm.
go for some bike rides. So that was cool. But yesterday was great. I had a one-on-one personal coaching session at 7 a.m. And then I got home and my wife and we hiked Mount Unconunuck, which is
Okay.
it's just like a nice small mountain, which is about a mile up the road from us. But
Yeah.
it's really great. Yeah, it's really great because it's just right there, and you can just drive a mile down the road, and you got this nice like hour hike that you can take.
Cool. Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small mountain, but yeah,
Get
just
out and enjoy
great
it.
on a beautiful day. It's awesome.
Great way to spend some quality time together for sure.
Yeah,
Something that we've been doing a bit more of, getting outside. Like, obviously, our weather isn't as warm as yours, but we are getting warmer for us.
yeah. How is it going there? January.
January. We're still in January.
No.
But we're getting up into the double digits, so which is nice. Yeah, but it's gradually getting warmer. Not short sleeves and shorts or anything like that yet, but we'll get there. It's abnormally cold. We're spoiled because last year I think we had like the best summer that I can ever remember for Newfoundland, and this summer it's below average in terms of temperatures and above average in terms of rain. So what do you do, right? You just take it as it comes. But hey, I do like to get outside. Been getting in some decent bike rides myself. I know you mentioned that you were getting in some bike rides as well. Do you do the rail trails?
I do the rail trails. There's some great rail trails in New Hampshire, some great mountain bike trails. Yeah, it's really it's a great place for out. If you like the outdoors, New Hampshire's a great state.
Yeah, cool. I was looking at some of the there's several videos of people doing the rail trails throughout New Hampshire and stuff, and you got some good networks there for sure. Take advantage of us.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Well, glad to have you joining in, and we have several people popping onto our live stream right now, which is awesome. Glad to see it. So the way this works, for those of you who are joining in, of course, welcome to our live Q&A. Myself and Jeff are going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition. So if there's anything you would like to discuss related to your workouts, related to your nutrition plan, any specific challenges when it comes to building muscle or losing fat, feel free to type those questions or topics of discussion into our chat window. And myself and Jeff will do the best that we can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So we have several people joining in. We have Cool Gamer is joining in. We've got Mark is joining in from Tucson,
Arizona.
Tucson, Arizona. Welcome, Mark. We have Jason joining in. Welcome from Oklahoma. Also, I've never been to. Have I ever been to Oklahoma? No, I don't think I have.
I haven't either.
No.
Nope.
Mr. Me from Israel. Welcome, Mr. Me. Who else we have there? I guess some questions there. Good stuff. Well, as you're tuning in, please let us know. Just a second. No, I thought I had a sneeze coming.
Take all the time you need.
It's not ready. If I do let it out, I will. But it was right there and then it's gone. The trees are pollinating, even though it's cold. There's still a lot of pollen in the air, and I find my sinuses are feeling the effects of it. I usually get that stuffy nose in this time of year.
Yeah, yep.
But I don't feel sick. But I just got that, runny nose and all that.
A little bit of a chest cold going myself.
I can hear it in your voice there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it for the past few days. Real bummer. It's like just a cough though. So
okay.
But
serious.
But before we get started though, I was just saying, so from Tucson, Arizona. So I'm actually, did I tell you about the vacation I'm going on, Lee, at the end of July?
No, tell us.
Okay, so my wife and I and a couple friends, we're going to Sedona in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be there for two or 3 days, and then we're driving through the desert, through the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and coming up to Zion National Park, where we're going to camp at Zion National Park for 3 days and do all kinds of hiking.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm really excited about that. So I wonder where Tucson, Arizona is in relation to Sedona. I'm not too sure, but I was wondering. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I went through Arizona a few years back. Well, it's a good many years back now. It was 2010. My wife and I, we did a road trip, did Route 66, and drove through Arizona where it goes through Route 66.
And did you get your kicks?
Oh, I got lots of kicks. It was the best road trip ever. I loved it. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And Arizona was my favorite spot because you're out in the wild, wild west. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
really is like Route 66. It's frozen in time. Like, it's a lot of ghost towns. It's just, it's literally, you feel like you're in an old Western movie or something going through, right?
Yeah. I'm excited because I've never seen that part of the country before. So I've never seen like the red painted desert.
No? Okay.
Stuff. Yeah. So this will be a first for me. Very excited.
Yeah, that'd be fun for sure. Yeah. All right. Who else we got joining in? I'm just stretching here for a few minutes. Let a few people pop onto our chat. We have Jose is joining in. We got Robert is joining in. Lee is joining in. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you joining in, guys. Good stuff. All right, so again, as I mentioned, myself and Jeff, we're going to be hanging out here for a while, answering questions and topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition. Oh, Mark is answering our question here, saying 3 to 4 hour drive. Sedona is beautiful, known as a spiritual area. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of that, actually. My wife was telling me about that. She's really excited to see all that. Yeah, cool. She was mentioning that. It's crazy, 3 to 4 hour drive from Tucson to Sedona because in the Northeast, the states are so small that if I drove 4 hours like south, I would be in New York,
right?
Which is like many states away from New Hampshire. So it's crazy to think that you drive 4 hours and you're still in the same state. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of puts things in perspective because where I live, like Newfoundland, it's a rural area, but it's a massive land mass. Like to drive from where I live to the Northern Peninsula, it's about a 14-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
And we're still in the same province, right?
Yeah.
So it's massive. Yeah, I know. It's different perspective for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think New Hampshire's got to be one of the smallest states in the country, if not the smallest.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we have any questions coming through. All right. Mr. Me's got a question. He's 29 years old. He's a male, participates in aerobic interval classes, and find the high kicks stress my range of motion. How can I improve my flexibility in my legs and my hamstrings? All right. Aerobic interval classes. I'm not exactly sure what that entails per se, but high kicks. Okay. I've before I got involved with weight training, or in my early days of weight training, I was also involved with martial arts. So that's kind of how I got, it all started in that area. Martial arts was my main thing for a while. So obviously flexibility, kicking, all that kind of stuff was a big part of it. And flexibility was something that we did a lot of. Now, when you're younger, flexibility comes a lot easier, right? Like it's easier to improve flexibility the younger you are, but you can still improve it even if you are older. And 29 is not old by today's standards by any stretch of the imagination. I know when I was younger, 29 seemed ancient, but now 29 seems rather youthful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I look back at my 20s and with envy, if you will. I actually made a new YouTube video talking about that, about how I've changed my training now that I'm in my 40s. So, yeah, getting back to Mr. Me's question there, you're certainly not too old to improve your flexibility. What I would recommend with that is this is something you can do at home, and regular stretching workouts is going to be a big plus to this. Because when it comes to flexibility, a little and frequency. So a little bit of flexibility training done very frequently. So something like literally you could do this on a daily basis and to try and improve that. And I actually have some videos up on my YouTube channel. If you go to the playlists, there is a stretching playlist. And actually, in the new video that I just posted up, I included some stretches that I do for hamstrings and legs and everything else as well. So you can check out that new video I posted up. It's the most recent video up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. But also check out that playlist covering flexibility and stretches, because there's a full playlist there covering leg stretches that you can incorporate. But that's something you definitely want to include. One thing I would recommend in the meantime is don't when you're doing these classes, work within your limitations, if you will. Listen to your body. Like, you may have to be a bit more conservative and everything else, because if you get a muscle tear or even a bad pull, like, that can really set you back. So you want to stretch the muscle, not tear the muscle. So you have to be very patient when it comes to this. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it will improve over the course of several weeks. And it's amazing how fast it can start to accumulate, but you got to be doing it like several weeks in a row, and then you're going to say, like, okay, wow, I'm starting to see the improvements, and then it starts to snowball from there. But in that initial phase, it's going to seem pretty slow. But once you get that momentum moving, you can actually start to see some good improvements. Is this something you've been working on now, Jeff, since you've been doing more calisthenics work, flexibility training?
Yeah, crazy that this question actually came up, because I was actually practicing high kicks yesterday with my coach in the morning.
What do you, like, what is a high kick? Like, what do you define a high kick?
Like kicking like over your head, like
Okay.
like, yeah, keeping like a straight leg and like doing like a high kick. Like,
is it like a swing, like swinging your leg overhead? That what you mean?
You could do like a side kick, or you could do like a front kick.
Okay.
Right?
But
you do,
the martial arts kick, like side kick, front kicks, like that.
Yeah. I mean, okay. you do need a great deal of flexibility to keep your legs straight in that position, for sure. And I've actually made a lot of progress with my hamstring flexibility in the past like 6 months, because that was an area of weakness that I had, that my coach had noticed with me. So the things that we did to improve it, like, is like programming a mix of like dynamic and static stretches. And I had always done like static stretching. So doing the dynamic stretching, I enjoyed. And actually I found too that I made more progress with the dynamic, because with the static one, I don't know. I feel like I would like you're only really supposed to stretch for like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, right? So like I would hold it for like way too long and everything, and then like wake up actually sore and like in pain like the next day from doing it. And your muscle tightens up, right? If you stretch for too long, like it's like a defense kind of mechanism. So doing like the dynamic stretches and everything like that, it was I liked it because it was easy to program. It's like, okay, go to your end range and then do like 3 sets of 10, something like that. Working on loaded stretches, so like good mornings, really helped a lot in that department. And then going down to like a really deep squat, and then coming up into like an RDL kind of position, like a hinge. So you're going from like a squat to a hinge, and then like doing that kind of movement pattern too helped a lot. Changing the angles of your feet, so like that way you're getting more internal rotation with your hips, or like external rotation. So like I started to angle my feet in a little bit closer, which then I could feel a little bit more of a pull on my inside hamstrings and like those muscles like that are like connected to your sit bones. Yeah. And then doing all of this too, like after warming up. So doing things like jumping exercises, like box jumps or things like that, or like just like dynamic movements, maybe cycling for like a little while to get some blood flow into the arm, just to make everything nice and elastic. Pop-ups, things like that. Like that's what helped me and improve my flexibility. And I have to say, it really did make a big difference. Like I have way more range of motion, flexibility in my hamstrings, but that's just a super tight area for a lot of people. So make sure you got to prioritize that. Try to reduce the amount of sitting that you're doing. That's another thing, right? Your hamstrings and your lower back get really tight if you're sitting a lot.
Or at least get up more frequently. I mean, it's kind of hard to not sit, especially if you have a desk job, but try to get up throughout the day if you can, or if you have the luxury of standing desk, or one of those desks that you can, that has the ability to become a seated desk or a standing desk, which is nice.
Yeah,
for sure.
Anything helps, right?
But there's a couple of key points there that you mentioned that I want to just highlight. When it comes to stretching and flexibility, it's not something you do when you're cold. You do not want to stretch a cold muscle. And the analogy I like to use there is visualize like a rubber band. If you have a rubber band and you put it in the freezer, and then when it's really cold, you try and stretch it, it's more likely to snap because it's cold, it's contracted, it's tight. You want to warm up first. So I always do my stretching at the end of my workouts. So actually in the new video that I just posted up, I actually take you through the entire workout from warm up, mobility, strength training, and stretching. And that's the order I go in. And that's the way I would recommend incorporating flexibility work is do it after the muscles are warmed up. There's already blood flow into the muscles. They're loose, they're limber, everything else. That's when you're going to get the best benefits and the least risk of injury. Like a common mistake is a lot of people, especially in the old school mentality, was thinking, well, flexibility and stretching was a good thing to do as a warm up. So they would stretch out their cold muscles before a workout. And I was like, no, that's kind of counterintuitive, counterproductive that way. You want to make sure that you're warmed up beforehand. Even if it's just doing some cardiovascular exercise, get the core temperature elevated, get some blood flow circulating throughout those muscles before you actually start working on the stretching. That's a key point there.
Yeah.
And how long did it take before you really started to notice significant changes or improvements?
Months. I mean, I couldn't tell you exactly, but months, like, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 months, something like that. Another one that was really big too, that really helped a lot was straddles, like doing seated straddles. So like elevating your butt off of the ground a little bit too. I think a common thing with me is like I would go to stretch my hamstrings and my lower back would round as like a compensation, right?
Yes.
So like elevating your hips off of the ground helps you get it deeper into your hamstrings if you're really, really tight.
Gotcha. There's a lot of videos. I mean, another thing that would help is yoga. Because that's a great for flexibility and it's a different form of exercise. Like it's such an underrated form of exercise, especially amongst people who are into weight training and bodybuilding, and they kind of look at yoga as like this sissy exercise until they try it and then they realize how hard it is. There's nothing sissy about yoga. I mean, it is a challenging exercise, and I've seen guys who might be strong in the gym, squat 400 or 500 pounds and then topple over when they try to hold a yoga pose because they don't have that stability and the flexibility and to be able to do that. So it's a great complementary exercise. And there's so many yoga videos online these days. Just go on YouTube, search for it, and you can find a whole bunch of follow-along workouts to help with that. But, consistency and small doses frequently is the key thing. That's what's going to really make the biggest difference. Like with flexibility work, it's not like you want to go in there and do I'm going to do an hour of flexibility once a week. No, I'd rather you do 5 minutes every day. You get much more benefit from that versus trying to go in there and just stretch the crap out of a muscle. I mean, that's just going to lead to soreness, aches and pains, and slow progress. If you do a little bit frequently, that's the way to go.
Develop like a little morning routine.
Like
5-minute morning routine every morning when you get up.
Or, I mean, in my case, I do it as a post-workout routine. Like I always take 5 to 10 minutes afterwards to stretch the muscles that I worked.
Oh, there's nothing like stretching after like a long bike ride, right? It just feels amazing.
I mean, well, anything, a workout, a bike ride. I mean, it's a great way to cool down, and it helps with the recovery process. It helps to reduce muscle soreness, and it will also help to improve your overall strength and explosiveness. Because a lot of times when people can't exert maximum force, or they don't feel like as you get older, sometimes you feel like things start to tighten up and stiffen up and you can't exert that force. A lot of it is because of lack of flexibility. Whereas if you have loose and limber and mobile joints and tendons and ligaments and muscles, you can exert full force through those muscles. So there's a lot of benefits. It's one of the most underrated things. Like a lot of people don't focus on flexibility until there's a problem, right? It should be preventative measures done in advance, but a lot of times it's wait till we have a problem, and it's like, oh shit, now how do I fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of the situation there, but it's never too late. Start now. All right. Let's see what else we have there. We have Jose is joining in. It says Lee and Jeff just made it to the chat before I go to see the Flash. All right. Question: how long does the deload have to last? I'm thinking 2 weeks. Also include massage and cryo to fully recover. There's really no set timeline. I mean, it could be a week, it could be a few days. There's not really like these hard set rules like, oh, your deload has to last X number of days or weeks or whatever. It depends on your situation and what it is you're trying to deload or prepare for. Usually a week is adequate, but if you're severely overtrained, you may need more. I'm just thinking like a lot of times athletes getting ready for an event, like prime example, I know when a lot of powerlifters, for example, when they're getting ready for competition, they'll do all their heavy training about a week out. So like their last heavy workout will be at least a week out from the competition. And then that final week is their taper, recovery week, whatever you want to call it, so that they're fresh for the competition. And a lot of other athletes use that same mentality. The final week is like their taper / deload week, so that they can fully rest and recover leading into their competition. Now, you can apply that even if you're not competing. If you feel like you're overtrained, you're burnt out, you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, just take a week to go through the motions with some easy active recovery work, and that may be enough. If it's not, I mean, feel free to stretch it out for longer, or like if you really were pushing it hard and burning yourself out, but a week is usually adequate, I think. I mean, do you have anything to share on that, Jeff? Like, have you ever done any structured deload training?
I'm trying to, like, the longest I've ever gone for like a deload is probably like a week, but I typically start to feel better after a couple days, like just kind of breaking up the routine, going for like doing some light cardio and just swapping that whatever training session I'm doing out for that, like something like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I just need to get outside. Like I just spend so much time in the basement working out and doing these splits and these training sessions and everything. It's nice just to like, all right, I'm not going into the gym today. I'm going to go for a walk outside or something like that. And then sometimes I wake up the next day and I'm like, cool, now I feel ready to go again.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Yeah. And sometimes you don't need a structured deload phase. Like if you have your workout structured in such a way that you're allowing for adequate rest and recovery between high intensity sessions,
yeah,
you may not need a full on deload phase.
Yeah.
And usually like with my training, I do like high intensity weight training one day, a low intensity cardio the next. That's generally how it works. But I mean, I may mix and match that depending on what it is that I'm focusing on. But try not to do back-to-back high-intensity days. Like if you did a high-intensity workout where you really pushed your limit, don't go in there the next day and think you're going to do another high-intensity workout and push the limit. Like you need to factor that in. And most people can only handle 1 or 2 really high-intensity workouts a week where you're really emptying the tank, if you will. The rest of the time is kind of easier, gentler exercises or lower intensity work. And in the sporting world, a lot of times they refer to this as polarized training, where you're doing really high intensity and then really low intensity, and then kind of working in the polar opposites. But if you structure that, you may not need much in the way of a deload other than a few days to rest and recover.
Yeah.
All right. Who else we have joining in? Let's see. Maybe Jason saying we're no longer living in teepees in Oklahoma. We're no longer living in igloos up here in Canada. Who else do we have there? Muscle Online Fitness. Hello, Mr. Muscle Online Fitness. Hey guys, hope you're doing great. My question is, how do you stay shredded when competing in 2 shows back to back, which are 6 to 8 weeks apart? All right, you keep dieting. That's the simple thing. You be in shape for the first show. Like, I mean, I'm not much of a I'm not a competitive bodybuilder anymore. I mean, the last time I competed was in 21, and that was after a 10-year hiatus. But there was a time in my competitive days where I did have the opportunity to do some shows back to back. And when I say back to back, sometimes it was as little as a week away, sometimes it was a month away. But the idea is you just keep dieting. So like once that first show is done, go. I mean, you might have a cheat meal or something like that afterwards, and a couple days off to rest and recover and get back to normal. But you're just right back into the whole diet phase again. And I actually liked being able to do 2 competitions back to back, because it was like you're getting 2 shows with one diet. So it's a fun way to go about it versus doing one full diet for just one show. So for someone who is a competitor, you just treat it as one diet. There's really no break. You just keep dieting through. And if you do it right, you should be able to sharpen up for the next competition. At least most of the time, that's what would end up happening in my situation when I did those. Because I would end up try to hit my peak for the first show, and then I would even sharpen up a little bit then for the next show. But that's it. You just keep dieting right on through. Let's see what else we have there. We have Khalid joining in. It says, "Dear Coach, I hope you're doing great. My question is, when it comes to protein, how much grams should take women per pound of body weight? She only do cardio, who doesn't do any weight training. How much protein women can take per pound of body weight?" The same general rule as men is a good guideline. And what I recommend is strive for 1 gram of protein per pound of your ideal body weight, your target body weight. So whatever weight you want to weigh, that's a good ballpark for protein intake. Now, it can vary. Like, it's not like you're going to eat exactly the same day in, day out. I mean, I know some people do, but you don't have to. Like, some days you're going to eat more, some days you're going to eat less, but strive to be in the ballpark. So just to throw some real numbers, if your lady friend wants to weigh 130 pounds, strive for 130 grams of protein. Simple as that. Like, just whatever your target body weight is, whether you're trying to lose weight or gain weight. So it applies both directions. How about you, Jeff? Do you track or have a target range that you strive for?
No, I personally don't track it or anything like that. I just try to have 3 meals a day with lean protein, and then I'll have some kind of protein snack before bed.
I'm the same way. I make sure there's protein with every meal, but I'm not strict on the tracking side of things at this stage of the game. I mean,
right.
Every now and then I will track it just to kind of see where I am, but I kind of try to follow that general rule of thumb, 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. And because the old rule was a gram per pound of body weight. And I always find it ironic too, because they're using grams and pounds. So you're using the metric for the protein measurement, and then you're using standard for the, the pound measurement. But, for those of you who want 2.2 gram or 2.2 pounds is a kilogram. So you can work out the math if you want. But the old rule of thumb was 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And where that was getting confusing is when people were really overweight. So I'd have some people reach out and say, well, okay, I'm 300 pounds. I want to lose 100. Does that mean I have to eat 300 grams of protein a day? Like, no, that's way too much. 1 gram per pound of your ideal goal body weight is more than enough. Another way you can look at it too is 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. If you can calculate your body fat percentage and your lean mass, 1 gram per lean mass is a good target to shoot for as well. But realize these are just ballpark estimates. Like, even people who are really good at tracking calories and macros and everything else, you're still going to be way off. Like, it's not as an exact a science as a lot of people think it is. And myself and Jeff did a video on this a while back. Actually, we did this one when we were in Nashville last year. I don't know if you remember that, when we talked about calorie tracking, and it is way off. Like, the nutrition labels, they're allowed to be off by 20%. And if you're eating out in restaurants, that can be off by 50% or more. And that's assuming there's no human error on the margin of the person doing the math. Because a lot of times people will eat their chicken breast and then they'll just, okay, that's a serving of chicken, but they could be having way more, or they could be having way less, or whatever. They'll throw on a pile of pasta on their plate and they'll say, oh, that's one serving. Meanwhile, it's probably two. Like the error, the human error when it comes to calorie and macro tracking is huge. So like even people who are really good at it, like dietitians and nutritionists and professionals who do this for a living, even when they track their calories and macros, very often they're off by upwards of 20%. And they say the average person is usually off by 50% or more. Right? So it's not an exact science. I'm not saying don't do it, but you got to factor that in there as well. There's a lot of margin of error. So as long as you're good enough, but good enough consistently, you can make that work.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see who else we have. Ann Kit. I think that's how I pronounce that name. I'm calling you Ann Kit. Lee, good workout video today. Which is your province in Canada? Looking forward to your planned meetup. I have a planned meetup.
It's in your calendar. You didn't know about it.
All right. Apparently, I have a planned meetup happening soon. Please let me know. I live in Newfoundland. It's the most eastern point in North America. Google it. Yeah, but that's where I'm doing. And thanks for the feedback. Glad you enjoyed the video today. Now, that's something I'm going to be hopefully doing a lot more of, right? Getting more workout videos. Something I talk about that in the video. I've been a bit slack on that, and I explained that in the video today.
Well, you have a very large library there, Lee. So
there's over 1,000 videos, but there's room for more, right? Too much is not enough. Right? That's the way it is. Right? If you got 1,000 videos, people want 2,000. If you got 2,000, they want 10,000. Like too much is not enough. Alberto joining in. Thanks for the show, guys. You're welcome. Differences and similarities between shoulder lateral raises and an upright row. They're two totally different exercises, but they do both work the shoulders. One is a row, which is a compound move, and one is a lateral raise, which is an isolation move. I'm not sure what more you want there.
Lateral.
Or Jeff, what do you do? Do you do side lateral raises and upright rows, or do you have a preference? Or how about you?
I'm currently not doing either of those exercises. I've never been a fan of the upright row. I just don't like how it feels on my shoulders. I just feel like I kind of get like some internal rotation that just doesn't really feel good on an upright row. I do like shoulder lateral raises though, and I've done those in the past with resistance bands, and I like them the most with resistance bands because I like that peak tension at the top. And I found it's a little bit less strenuous on the elbows too. Doing it with like dumbbells, I always felt like a little bit of I don't know, I just didn't really feel good on the elbows. I get a little sore after that. So I like the lateral raises, but my favorite shoulder exercise of all time is the face pull. I love the face pull.
I like that too. And that is kind of similar to an upright row, but you're doing it in a horizontal versus a vertical row. So instead of pulling up, you're pulling towards the face.
Right.
And the thing I like about it is usually we'd use like a rope or maybe two single handle attachments or something like that. So there's freedom of movement in your hand positions. And if this is something I like, when I have done upright rows, and I'm like Jeff, I don't do it very often, but I found if I'm using a barbell, it's very awkward because you're in that rigid position, and sometimes like your wrists kind of, it's just hard to have that movement. I guess, right? Like my wrist would kink up, where I would find if I did it with dumbbells, because you got two, your hands are more free to move in a natural plane of motion. I found the dumbbells was more comfortable, or using a rope attachment. So instead of doing a face pull with a rope, I would literally do an upright row with the rope. I found that was more comfortable. But again, I'm not a huge upright rower. I don't do it a lot. I mean, I have done it sometimes, and if I do them, I like to use a rope or dumbbells. And with the lateral raise, I'm a fan of the side lateral raise machine, and it's a lot of gyms have these. It's a weight stack machine with the pads there at your arms. So I find it's a really strict isolated movement, but it allows you to handle relatively heavy weight for a small muscle group. And I actually get a much better shoulder contraction with the side lateral raise machine versus the dumbbells. So that's my lateral raise of choice. But I still use dumbbells from time to time if needed. Like if I'm working out at my home gym, I don't have a lateral raise machine, so I'll use dumbbells. But if I'm at the gym, which most of the time I am, that's what I'll use, is the side lateral raise machine. That's my personal favorite.
You know what I've been doing really recently for shoulders I really like? I do it with a TRX strap. And
Yep.
I'll do like the Y raises. And then when I can't do any more of those, I'll go to like an upright row, but then I'll do some external rotation of the shoulder at the top of it as well. And then bring it back down like that and then come forward. So
it's a row and then the external rotation?
Yeah, row it up as far as you can, and then externally rotate like that, and then come down and go forward again like that. So I like that too because it gets a little bit of rotator cuff in there too with that external rotation. So yeah, I like that movement a lot.
So with the TRX strap, so obviously you're probably like on an angle when you're starting, like leaning back, but then as you roll yourself up, you're more standing upright.
Yep. And then
at that top resistance due to leverage.
Right. Yeah. And then at that top position, that's where you externally rotate. That one's a good one too. Or Cuban rotations are really good too. You do that with dumbbells or with a band, right? Where you're stepping on the band, and then you pull it up to here.
Yes.
Right. And then you just externally rotate like that. That's a really good shoulder exercise too. Yeah. I could go on and on. I love shoulder exercises. Pike push-ups. I love pike push-ups. Those are one of my favorites too.
Yeah. That's a good one for sure. But I mean, yeah, shoulders are definitely one of your stronger muscle groups. Yeah, but that's some good exercises. But hopefully that helps to answer Alberto's question.
Yeah.
See what else we got there. We have. Can you say his name?
I was waiting for you to try it first.
Yeah. We have I know he's a regular to the chat. I think he even went through our Lose Your Gut challenge and everything else, but Apostolus, I know he's laughing at us on the other end.
Yeah.
Again, it might not even sound the way it spells, like a lot of different words and names like that, but I'm going to call you AG. So we have AG.
Yeah.
And Haley and Jeff, always great listening to you live. And glad to have you joining in. And I know he was part of our Lose Your Gut challenge group that we had.
That's right.
Yeah. So again, appreciate the support. Glad to have you joining in. And we have Neil over on the other side of the globe. Good morning, y'all. Why is it that picking up things like heavy boxes, barrels, logs, even a grade school kid is way harder than performing a barbell deadlift? Because it's awkward. You're not in the same position. You're probably not in a mechanically strong position. There's a lot. It's not just the weight. Like when you're doing a barbell lift or a machine lift or whatever lift in the gym, you're usually in a proper mechanical position to do that lift. Whereas if you're picking up odd objects, you're probably, unless you're trained in that, you're not doing it properly. And that's why odd objects are so much harder. Like you see some strongman competitions where they'll do tire flips and keg presses and all kinds of weird and wonderful exercises like that. I mean, the weight is still heavy, but compared to a barbell, it's not nearly as heavy as what they could lift with a barbell because the barbell is so much easier to control. And another thing, a barbell is easier to hold on to. Like you can wrap your hands around a barbell, whereas a box, a barrel, a kid, kids especially, kids are squirmy, right? It might only weigh 50 pounds, but if you got to get a squirmy kid and you're trying to, whatever, pull them off something or get them to bed or whatever. I mean, it could be challenging for sure. But that's normal for everybody. That's not unique to you. That's normal for everybody. When you're lifting odd, weird objects that you don't have a good leverage, good grip, good position. This actually reminds me of something. Jeff, have you ever used the fat grips, or do you even know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've used them. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you put a fat grip, and for those of you who are watching wondering what the hell is Lee talking about, a fat grip, all it is a thick rubber grip that you put on like a barbell or a dumbbell or a machine handle, something like that, and it just makes the handle thicker. So it's almost like, visualize grabbing like a soda can. That's about the size of it, the diameters. And just the fact that it's bigger is so much harder. Like if you grab a 1-inch diameter barbell or dumbbell handle versus the 2-inch or 2.5-inch, whatever it is, fat grip, the same weight feels way heavier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. And that's the only difference. Like it's the exact same dumbbell. Like you do a set of dumbbell curls, just say you grab a set of 25s, curl them, put the fat grips on, and then curl that same set of dumbbells, and now they feel like, oh my God, what are you, like 40s? Like it's just so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just the fact that it's awkward. That's what makes those exercises feel so much heavier.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got.
Lee, I kind of got to get going, my man.
You got a gig. All right, where are you playing tonight, Jeff?
I am playing in Danville, Vermont, and then tomorrow I am playing in Lebanon, New Hampshire. But I'm really excited. So I just bought the snare drum of my dreams yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. Hold on.
I see it over there.
Right
yep.
there, right
yep.
next to the Patriots helmet and the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, is that the vacuum cleaner of your dreams as well?
No, that's not the vacuum cleaner of my dreams. No, maybe my wife's dreams. I don't know. But yeah, the snare drum. Let me tell you,
I hope she has better dreams than vacuum cleaners.
I'm glad she's not logged on to this.
I know.
Right now. Yeah, I'd be in trouble. But yeah, no, I got the Cadillac of snare drums yesterday, and I got a gig tonight.
Is that part of the gig tonight?
Yeah, I can't wait to bring it out. It's like it's the snare drum I've always wanted my entire life. So I just turned 35, so this might be the beginning of my midlife crisis.
There you go.
But I was like, I got to get this drum. So yeah, I'm gonna take it out tonight. Take it for a spin.
Nice. So yeah, anybody in the area checking out? One of these days, Jeff, it's going to happen. Someone's going to say, "Hey, I was on live video Q&A, and I decided to come out and check you out."
I'm waiting for you to walk through the door, Lee.
There we go.
You take Trish for a night out. You guys.
Yeah, I might have to drive for a week to get there.
If you leave now, you can make.
I'll be at your next gig. We'll start driving.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, thanks for joining in. Always nice to chat with you, and enjoy banging on that snare drum.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Lee.
Right,
have a good one.
Take care, everybody. Have a good one. All right. Back to solo chat. So where are we? We're 42 minutes in. I will go for another 20 minutes or so and then clue it up. So where are we to? We had Neil's question about picking up heavy, awkward objects. We have Jason. Couldn't agree more, Lee, with the protein intake. Don't feed your fat. Totally agree there. Yeah, you don't need to feed your fat. Excuse me. Khalid, not sure if Lee's reading comments through Facebook. I think you're better joined through YouTube. The comments come through both. I get comments through Facebook as well as YouTube through this platform that I'm using. So that's fine. If you're commenting through YouTube or through Facebook, it'll all come through on my end. Thanks, Lee and Jeff. Happy Father's Day in advance to you both. Thank you. Much appreciated. And likewise, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Father's Day in advance. We have, who else? Solid Jeddo. Solid Ghetto says, Lee, I started taking creatine a month ago and the results are getting better and better. Awesome. And that's, you usually will feel the most bang for your buck, if you will, the most effects from creatine when you start taking it, especially if you've never taken it before, because as your muscles get saturated, as your creatine levels get saturated, then you start reaping the benefits from it. It is certainly a noticeable supplement. That's why creatine is hands down probably one of the most popular supplements, one of the most proven supplements. there's probably been more research and real world evidence supporting creatine than pretty much any other supplement out there, right? So it's certainly a worthwhile supplement, and I would recommend everybody supplement with creatine, right? Unless there's some reason you have some medical condition that prevents you from doing so. But it's not just a fitness supplement, meaning a strength and athletic performance, but it's an overall health supplement because it's good from so many benefits within the body. I mean, there's mental and cognitive benefits. There's performance benefits. It helps prevent, age declining, strength losses, and sarcopenia and all that kind of stuff. So creatine is a great supplement for everybody to take, right? I mean, I would highly recommend it. I've been using it myself since it first basically hit the market. I remember the first time I ever used it was back in 1995, and I've been using it ever since. So good for you. Glad to hear that it's working for you. This is about a mini workout station that allows me to do push-ups, L-sits, inverted rows for the back, and dips. Cool. That's a nice tool to have. I mean, those are all solid exercises, those bodyweight movements. A thing that would go really well with that is some resistance bands or some free weights like dumbbells, things like that. That would be a great setup because you could pretty much, if you had that workout station, and I'm familiar with what you're talking about because I've seen them before. If you had that along with some resistance bands and some dumbbells, I mean, you can pretty much hit all your major muscle groups. I mean, obviously you can elaborate on it over time, get a bench and stability balls and all that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for like the next best upgrade, a good set of adjustable tension resistance bands where you can have the handles and adjust multiple bands onto the handles so you can adjust the tension. That would be a really good setup because you can duplicate so many exercises with resistance bands. And I know, like, back when we were going through lockdown and gyms were closed and all that, a lot of my coaching students were making do with home workouts with body weight and resistance bands and still making progress, with minimal equipment, right? So it can be done. Now, I still think it's ideal to have a gym membership, and that's my personal preference, but you can certainly make do with minimal equipment. Okay, excuse me. It's weird. Like, I got this, I think it's allergies. That's what I really think it is. The pollen in the air this time of year and everything else, because I don't feel sick, but I got that snotty nose and like a tickle in my throat. I'm blaming it on allergies. But it hasn't affected my energy none because I'm still working out and feeling good otherwise. But just that nagging little allergies. And what else we got there? We have Nishu saying, hello, welcome to the video chat. Glad to have you joining in. Much appreciated. So let's see. All right, any other questions coming through? I'm going to just scroll through, make sure I didn't miss any. And for those of you who are just popping onto our live stream, feel free to type in any questions or topics of discussion that you would like to have covered related to fitness and nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, any specific things. Let's see, because I think that's all that came through on my end. So, saying I'm heading to the gym soon. I have some extra money for a membership, but hey, making do with a home gym is a great thing to do. And you know what? I started my workouts with a very minimal home gym. My first my first home gym was simply a York barbell and dumbbell set, and it wasn't even an iron set. It was the cement-filled plastic weights. That's what I started with. And then we added a little home gym machine, a York 2001 that had some cable pulleys, a leg extension, leg curl. And from there, we gradually built up. But the bottom line, just take what you have available and just be consistent. Like, even body weight and dumbbells or body weight and resistance bands, you can make amazing progress. Let's see. Here's a good question. This is from Khalid. If you are new to the gym and you feel tired, what's a good supplement to take? First off, if you're new to the gym, you're going to feel tired because it's just unique muscle stimulation, it's unique things that you're doing, and your body is not accustomed to it. So it has to go through the adaptation phase. And in the process of adapting, you're going to grow, and then eventually you're going to hit a plateau. And every program goes through this, the adapt, grow, plateau. I've mentioned this before, but it's normal for people to feel tired initially, and it's not something that you can always just band-aid with a supplement. All right. Now, not saying that supplementation and nutrition is not important, but even if you had perfect nutrition, perfect supplementation, and you're brand new to the gym, you're still going to feel tired because you're placing stress on your body that it's not accustomed to. You don't have the work capacity, the stamina, the endurance, all that stuff is not there yet. And that's going to take a while to build. So the first month of going to the gym is the hardest month. It really is. So for those of you who are heading to the gym for the first time, whether you've never been there before, or even if you're heading to the gym after a layoff, like maybe you've been on and off with your workouts, or you used to work out back in the day and now you're getting back into it again, the first month is the hardest month, right? And I want you to mentally wrap your mind around that. And just, if you can show up and just go through the motions for the first month, like don't have any emotional attachments of like, oh, I got to hit any performance numbers or anything like that. Like the goal for the first month is just to show up consistently. And maybe that's 3 times a week. Like that would be an ideal scenario. Like say 3 times a week or every other day, just show up to the gym, right? I'm going to show up. I'm going to go through the motions. I'm just going to do the best that I can on that particular day, right? If I feel strong, great. If I feel tired, who cares? I'm going to do it anyway. And I'll just adjust the weights and the intensity accordingly. But just show up, like show up. And the hardest exercise that you'll ever do at the gym is pushing open the front door and walking in. That is the hardest exercise. Once you get your ass in the gym, it's like coasting downhill from there. Because the hardest part is just to show up. Once you're there, it gets easier. So that's the biggest thing, is just to wrap your mind around that. Hey, I'm going to commit to showing up. I'm going to go through the motions. I'm going to build this habit. And that's what you want to do initially, is just build the habit. That applies to your workouts. It applies to your nutrition, all this stuff. Like build the habits first. Once you have the habits in place, then it's just tweaking the variables. Like we can tweak the exercises. We can adjust the sets, the reps, the exercises, the training split, all that stuff. Once you have the habit in place, it's easy to manipulate the variables to get the desired results. But if you don't have the habit in place, the best laid out workout program on paper is useless if you're not sticking to it consistently. So build the habit of consistency. That's step number 1. That also applies with your nutrition, right? Like focusing on fueling up on natural, unprocessed foods, being consistent with your meals, not skipping meals. Like a common thing that I see a lot of people do is they'll skip meals early in the day and then they overeat later in the day. It's so common, right? People wake up, oh, I'm too busy, I'm rushed, I got to get out the door, I got to get to work, I got to do this, I got to blah, 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 blah. And like, oh, I don't have time for breakfast. All right, I'll just grab a coffee and I'll go. And then lunch, they might grab something from the vending machine or whatever the special of the day is at the cafeteria, or they might even skip lunch, and just say, oh, I'm too busy, I'll work through lunch. And then by the time they get home, they're famished. Blood sugars crashed, and then they just, they're like a bottomless pit. And then they'll eat anything and everything, because they're starving and their blood sugar is low. That's not ideal, all right? You want to build a consistency, right? Like breakfast, lunch, dinner, get that consistency in there with the meals, natural unprocessed foods, consistency with the workouts, showing up to the freaking gym on a regular basis. Like that's the most important thing. Once you have that in place, the rest is easy. We can manipulate the variables as we go. But the most important thing is getting that consistency routine in there, building that habit. All right, let's see what else. Nish who says, I have a shoulder grinding problem. Do you care to elaborate on that? Like, is this a problem when you're doing exercises? Is it a problem just in day-to-day movement? Like, if you can elaborate a little bit more, I might be able to help. But my initial reaction after just reading your comment there, if you are having some shoulder issues, I would probably recommend seeing a physiotherapist or someone who can look at you in person and diagnose whatever it is that you may have going on, because there might be some impingement, might be, strained muscles, tendons, ligaments, who knows? Like there's a lot of things that could be going on there. And the shoulder is a very complex joint. It's a small joint, but it's a very complex one because it has that 360-degree rotation. that ball and socket joint in there, right? So the shoulder, in order to be able to rotate and move your arms in all angles and positions, it has a lot of mobility potential, but the muscles, tendons, and ligaments and the bone structure is very small and fragile compared to other joints, like compared to, say, like the hips or the knees or bigger joints. Oh, excuse me. So it is common to have shoulder injuries. They are one of the more common injuries in the gym, but if you would like to elaborate on what you're dealing with specifically, I might be able to give a more specific answer. But in the meantime, I'm just going to move on. Let's see what else we have there. Mr. Mees got another question. Barbell push exercises cause minor pain in the front of my shoulder after a few weeks of doing such exercises, using a limited range of motion, and dumbbells are awesome for me. Any opinion on that? That makes a lot of sense. When you use barbell exercises, I'm just going to move that comment because it's covering my face. When you're using barbell exercises, you're forced into that rigid plane of motion. Like, you have to grab the barbell, and because of that, it can place some strain on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. Whereas if you're using dumbbells, you have more freedom of movement. And very often, for example, like if I'm doing a dumbbell bench press, I don't hold the dumbbells perfectly out straight. I like to hold them on a 45-degree angle and actually tuck my elbows to the sides more. And this takes some of the shoulder rotation out of the movement. Whereas if you have your elbows stuck out to the side, there's a lot of stress on that shoulder joint. You tuck your elbow down, there's less stress on the shoulder joint, and you're more emphasis on the chest and triceps. So even when you're doing your barbell exercises, you can still try and tuck your elbows down a bit more, especially if you're doing like a bench press or something like that. But dumbbells are probably better if you do find that it is causing pain. Another thing is making sure that you're warming up your shoulders prior to your workouts. And actually, in that new video I posted up today, I take you through some different shoulder warm-up exercises. And these are things that I do before every single workout that I do as a preventative measure. Like, even if I don't have any pre-existing shoulder issues, I always warm up my shoulders, right? Like arm circles, forwards and back. I do band pull-aparts. I do rotator cuff rotations. Like, those exercises are kind of like my preventative measures so that my shoulders stay healthy and mobile and hopefully injury-free. And knock on wood, haven't had any serious shoulder injuries or aches and pains in quite a while because I've been doing those exercises as a regular in my workouts. And, of course, lifting within your means. That's another big one, right? Lifting within your means. If the weight feels too heavy, it probably is. If your form is breaking down, lighten up the weight, focus on proper form, and that'll go a long way. Like, focus on working the muscles, not just placing stress on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. All right, let's see. Valvedere says, I must add, I have trained before on and off, but right now I have not much strength nor muscle mass. That doesn't surprise me, and I want to just talk about the on and off workout routine, because this is the most common workout program out there. If you talk to people who are, how are your workouts going these days? Oh, I'm on and off, right? On and off. I've been working out for a few weeks, and then I had to take a few weeks off, and then I get back at it again for a month, and then I had to take a couple months off, and now I'm going to get back at it again. The problem with on and off is there's no consistency. There's no progression over time, because whatever progress you make when you're on, you're going to lose when you're off. And then you have to start all over again. So even if you've been on and off for 10 years, you don't have 10 years of progressive training under your belt. You have maybe a few months of training over and over the course of 10 years. Because, like, whatever progress you made while you're on, as soon as you stop, you're going to lose it. As they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's amazing how fast you can lose your conditioning. Unfortunately, fitness isn't one of these things where you do it once and you keep it forever, right? It's not like, oh, I built a house and now the house is there, right? I don't need to keep building the house anymore. The house is just going to stay there. Muscle and fitness is not like that. You just don't build it once and then say, okay, I'm done. I can stop working out now and it's going to stay. Because as soon as you stop, the progress starts to regress and you start to lose it. So you need to keep that consistency. And if you don't have much to show for it, it's because of that on and off approach. So you need to keep that consistency. And that's why I keep coming back to this good enough, but good enough consistently approach. And this is really the secret. Like if we were to break all this down into the most basic bare bones key fundamentals, is being consistent over the long term. Like even if you had a basic bare bones beginner's workout program, the most basic, simplest nutrition plan, but you were consistent with the basics, you would make way better progress than having the most advanced program with customized macros and advanced exercises and workout splits and advanced training techniques, but you were on and off with it. Again, on and off doesn't lead to lasting results. All right. Where are we there? Let's see. Okay. Jason, can you comment on the positives of the 20 rep squats? I used to do them years ago with amazing results. 80% of my max times 20 was a killer. Yes, I would say that is a killer. The 20 rep squat program is something I have not done in quite a while, but I used to use it back in the day, and it is just a brutally effective program, but it is one of those simple. It's a very simple program. The core plan is the number one exercise is you would take, you warm up and then do 20 squats, right? Like I would start with very lightweight and then just like when you look at the 20 rep squat program, I don't know if I have the book handy with me or not. I do think I have. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I do. There's a book written about it. 20 rep squats called Super Squats. And this is basically the 20 rep squat program. This was published by Iron Mind, I believe. I think it was. That's where I got it from, I think. Yeah, Iron Mind. Right? They published this back in the day. Oh my goodness, when was this? This was published back in '89, but a lot of the stuff in this is old material. Like the original idea of 20 rep squats is over 100 years old, so it's nothing new, right? This thing is old as dirt. Well, I don't know. Dirt is actually older than 100 years, but you know what I'm saying. It's old. It's not new. But the idea of 20 rep squats has been around for a long time, and it's just one of those programs. The idea behind it is just high intensity, time under tension, and the consistency and the progressive overload. Like it has all the key elements that you need to have a very productive program. And it's simple, right? Like you don't need anything fancy, right? You just barbell squats, right? That's the key program. And of course you throw in some assistant exercises for your other muscle groups. But I mean, I did that, and that was one of the programs that stands out in my mind as like a really effective training program. Like going through that, you do that for a couple months and you will see noticeable changes, right? Noticeable changes. And then eventually what happens is you'll hit that plateau where you get to the point where you just can't recover from the 20 rep squats anymore. And it's just, it's run its course. So I would always start off conservative and then each workout, just try to complete those 20 rep squats with an extra 5 pounds on the barbell. You know, those little 2.5 pound plates, just put it on. And how I started, I believe the first time that I did it, I was in pretty decent shape when I did it for the first time. But I remember I started with 225 pounds. So two plates aside, 245 pound plates aside for 20 reps. And that was challenging. And then I just, each workout, put 5 pounds on, right? 5 pounds, did the 20 rep squats. And over the course of 8 weeks, I built up to my all-time best, which was 315 for 20 reps. And the progress that I made in going from 20 reps at 225 to 20 reps at 315, like everything got bigger and stronger. Like my bench press went up. Obviously my squat went up. All my assistant exercises went up. Like I gained mass and strength and stamina all over. And it was just an amazing program, right? And you know, it's been around for over 100 years, so it's a proven program to follow. It's ideal for someone who's young and injury-free and looking to really bulk up and maximize their strength and you know, muscle mass. I wouldn't recommend it as much for someone who's, you know, an older athlete or someone who's got knee problems or hip problems or back problems or something like that. You probably want to be a bit more conservative. But for someone who's younger, like someone in their late teens, early 20s, really trying, in your prime and really trying to maximize your strength and muscle development, the 20 rep squat program is a good one. And, pick that book up. You should be able to get it on Amazon or just do a search for it. I would highly recommend it. It's a fun read, right? It's as simple as, it's only a short book. Like, how many pages is this? 100 pages. Like, it's nothing, right? I mean, as far as books go, that is, 100 pages. And it's a fun read. There's a lot of history and, towards the evolution of the 20 rep squat program and the iron game and some of the old school guys who used it and all that. So definitely would recommend it. Oh, excuse me. All right, let's see what else we got there. I think that's all the questions that came through on my end. I'm pretty sure it is. And that actually works out really good because we're at the hour mark. So I'm going to get ready and clue this up. So again, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. Hopefully you got some value from it. And again, just wanted to let you know that there's a brand new video posted up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, you can go check that one out. And that covers my current Muscle After 40 training program. So kind of take you through a full training program covering the warm-up, the mobility work, the strength training, and then the post-workout stretching. So if you're looking for a good plan to follow, I would highly recommend checking that out. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions or feedback or anything that you would like to discuss, feel free to email me. You can open up the video description below. My email address is there as well as my Facebook link. So feel free to email me or Facebook message me. If you have any questions or comments about what we discussed here, feel free to reach out and we can continue the conversation through email. All right. Have yourself a great one, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care. Over and out.